You see weddings on Instagram and you have no idea what it
things
costs.
cost. We are brutally honest right from the jump.
Julian and I both having worked in the industry and other jobs, we just have a strong education of what those other pieces look like and what's possible and what's not.
The goal always is to make sure that the couple that we're working with is at the center of the story. We have to set ourselves aside. We have a million different ideas and we put them in our pocket and we take them out of our pocket and we put them in our pocket and we take them out of our pocket. And if the idea fits for your story, then we keep the idea. But if it doesn't fit, you're not going to hurt us or our feelings because we put it back in our pocket and we pull it out for someone else.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and besides of being recently married, I own the leading company in bouquet preservation in the world. It is when connecting with my clients that I felt the need to serve them and help them navigate this new and exciting journey. On this podcast, we bring you everything you need to know to plan the wedding of your dreams. We'll be featuring conversations with top wedding vendors and valuable tips and advice from real couples. Whether you're engaged or simply love, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get started on this journey to your perfect wedding day. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club.
Welcome back to Bridal Club. I am so excited to have you both here at the studio. Thank you so much for being on today.
We're so excited to be here.
Julian, I definitely want to start with you.
Okay.
You know, I started following you, I think around your wedding. And in fact, it was through one of the photos from your wedding.
Yeah.
It was absolutely stunning. I was planning my wedding then. I don't know if it was one of your photos or one of your vendors, but I saw the photo and I was specifically looking for the wedding planner. Oh my gosh, it's actually his wedding.
Yes.
Absolutely stunning.
Thank you so much.
I definitely want to know more about Julian Leaver Events and all your amazing experience in the luxury planning and service.
Yeah. So I started this business now. It's coming into its 10th year. So May of next year will be 10 years, which is wild. And it's just been an adventure. I've been in events and weddings for almost 30 years, which is really insane.
Wow.
I started in sorority parties and put myself through college that way with another little business called Method Events. It had clip art, disco ball as the logo, made the logo in Microsoft Word. Things have come a long way from there.
Yeah.
I worked also in hotels and then ultimately in this business starting in 2016.
When did you know that you wanted to go on your own and start crafting weddings?
Going back out on my own really was in 2016. It was just kind of time. And my hotel job that I worked at, I used to work for Rosewood Hotels and Resorts. They were making some changes and they had sold the parent corporation. And so all of my friends in hotels were moving away. So they were all moving to other hotels and continue working for Rosewood. And I thought now is the time. I love Dallas. I've been in Dallas since really 2006. I didn't want to leave this network and the people that I had met. And just really the wedding industry in Dallas is so strong.
It really is. It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how strong it is.
They really don't. And how the event industry is just so robust here.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I don't want to give up those connections.
Sarah, you also have a lot of experience in the wedding industry as well. Why don't you tell us about your experience and also what it's like working with Julian?
Yeah, we've been working together for about 5 years now and started working together really in COVID, but actually we have been working together a little bit before that. So Julian was like subcontracted as a planner under the Todd Events brand, and I was a planner and designer at that time. And then COVID, of course, shook us all up, and Julian and I sort of reconnected and started working together shortly after that. Definitely had a moment through COVID where I was going, I don't know if I want to come back into events. This is crazy, especially with how much the pandemic shook up the event industry in general. Then got into it and I thought, I can never leave this. This is just, it's like my family, it's my connections. It felt like home, and just also just all of the incredible creative things that we get to do are amazing. So we had a nice kind of slow ramp up because events weren't really happening at the time. So we got to sort of like see how we worked together for a while before we really got into event season, which was really beneficial.
That's awesome. You guys produced the first WIPA event this year. I was able to work with you a little bit indirectly. And I remember at the end of the event, I handed you some mics and I was filming from far away. I could not hear a thing. But your chemistry, it was so much fun to watch.
It was fun.
Like, do you guys have this much fun every single time that you produce something?
So Okay. So in COVID, at the beginning of COVID, we would work together all the time.
Yes.
Okay. Did we get anything done?
No.
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 So we are not allowed to work together.
We have to put ourselves in timeout.
We have to put ourselves in work timeout.
Yeah.
And we have to work in separate spaces
Yes.
because otherwise we would do like an hour of work and then like 4 hours of chatting.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work that way. But yes, it is like this all the time. And we just have to like figure out what our separation is to be able to get some shit accomplished.
We have to divide and conquer on things for sure, or else we would never get anything done.
I totally agree with you. The reason why I come a little bit later and leave until like 7 or 8 at night and my team starts from 8 to 5 is because if I'm here with them, I would not get things accomplished.
It's too much fun.
Yeah. So I'd rather be here with them like for about 4 hours and then the rest I need to be myself.
And I feel like we're right in the middle of just figuring out like really more concretely how it works. But right now it kind of works like logistics and design and then like logistics on the backside. It's just more divide and conquer in terms, I think, of the vendors, really.
Oh, okay.
More of like the vendors who can do like one event a day. I'm kind of handling on the front side. And then Sarah is coming in really in the design phase of like, okay, this is what your event is going to look like. And this is what inspires you. And this is what your Pinterest board is. And like, okay, do you like that board? Or what do you think about this? And then she goes and creates the cool design board and presents it to the client.
That's
and
awesome.
then we run from there.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
then we
awesome.
kind of come back together on the backside with the schedule and the logistics and getting all of that.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that part because everybody thinks like, oh, being a planner is so much fun. You just decide it, that's all. And I know. I didn't understand it until I got married. I thankfully had Macy with Social at My Events. She designed and planned my whole wedding. I didn't do anything. It was the best. I don't know how brides would plan a wedding without a planner.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard. It's a lot of work. It's a second job.
Yes, I agree. So, Julian, you describe your planning style as intentional and story-driven. Tell us more about what that means and how do you accomplish that?
The goal always is to make sure that the couple that we're working with is at the center of the story, right? And we have to set ourselves aside. We say this a lot. We have a million different ideas and we put them in our pocket and we take them out of our pocket and we put them in our pocket and we take them out of our pocket. And if the idea fits for your story, then we keep the idea, right? But if it doesn't fit, you're not going to hurt us or our feelings by saying, no, I don't like that idea, because we put it back in our pocket and we pull it out for someone else. It's really about getting to know the couple and asking all of those questions. And one of the things that I've been noticing lately is couples really want to get into the design phase of things very quickly. They're excited about the design.
I agree.
Because that's the pretty part, right? But that is the part that we need time to get to know who you are. Who are you?
Because I can throw something on paper, but it may just like not even make sense for the couple. And they may even say, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, and they love it. And then you find out for months down the road that they have this like really cool personal style, or they like love traveling to a particular space that would be cool to incorporate into the decor and into the whole story of it. And I think we're always trying to dovetail that into every piece, whether it's like helping them create their menu and then we incorporate something from where they went on their first date, or incorporating elements into the design, like we said,
it's so intentional.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and I think also in the selection of their vendors on the front side too, of like, who are they choosing for photography? Right? Or who are they choosing for videography? And what does the personality of the person that they chose say about them?
Okay.
That tells us actually a lot more than you would think.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. It really does. And it talks a little bit about like, are they more outgoing? Are they a little bit more reserved? Like whose personality are they drawn to? And then that tells us a lot about like what they're going to do later in the process.
Are they more artistic or more classic? And kind of what do they lend themselves towards? And also in the paper process, which that's another thing we love to kind of get them into the first paper meetings before we really get into any of their other things.
So that means we are really having them go and meet with a stationer kind of as their kickoff point for design.
Wow.
Because it is the place where as a couple, you can look at something and say, okay, I like this or I like this.
That's so
right? Like in front of you, you can touch it. Your parents can touch it. It's all very real. And someone will say to us, I'm very modern. Okay. And by very modern, we learned through the paper meeting that very modern means we're going to do a slightly different, less traditional font in and everything else is still traditional. That helps us really see where do you really fall in the process.
That's awesome. You guys work like an algorithm.
Yeah,
like,
it's almost like we have our own little internal algorithm.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And you start to see things too. I feel like you see the dynamic because you're meeting with them in person of who comes to the meeting. Is it the bride and the loan? Is it the bride and her mom? Is it just the bride and the groom?
Wow.
You start to see some of the dynamics of who are the main decision makers. Sometimes it's a typical male-female couple and the groom is actually the design person.
Really?
And it kind of surprises you through the process. Or sometimes we've only been talking to the bride and then the mom comes and will kind of bulldoze the bride's design ideas too, which is always interesting to navigate.
Yeah. Speaking of navigating, obviously all of this comes through experience to understand and read people just through decision making. So that's so cool.
Yeah. And it's intuitive, right? It's just, it is.
For y'all.
For us, it is intuitive. It's just like you're exercising the muscle all the time.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Well, and we are always trying to dissect it and make sure that the couple's enjoying the process and they're having fun.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you.
Exactly. I mean, if we're seeing a dynamic that's challenging, maybe in that first meeting, then we'll see how we can change things. If the mom sometimes has strong opinions, maybe she just needs to be heard and we need to do a separate meeting with her before we do another one with the couple so we can make sure everyone feels like their ideas were brought to life too. Because it's for everyone. Weddings are for families. They're not just for couples. And I think that's one thing that has been an interesting shift over the years. I think for a while, at least on social media, there was a long thing that was it's all about the couple. It's not about the parents. And it's well, but kind of is about the parents.
I agree.
It's about the whole family coming together, and I think you need to be nimble, as a couple, but also as planners.
My mom kept asking me, what do I do for your wedding? I'm not doing anything. Yeah. She didn't get involved whatsoever because I didn't either. It was the minimal, and I didn't understand how important that day was for my mom until the day of. I wish I had made it a little bit more special. Yeah. It was her first time that her daughter was getting married. Understanding that, it's so important, obviously, for you guys to bring in even that conversation to make everybody feel at peace and heard, as you said. So how do you help couples and obviously parents and anybody involved feel at peace and not be super stressed? Because planning a wedding, if you have not been married, it's a lot of work. You're talking about finances and decision making, crafting all these decisions for one single day. How do you navigate that with them?
It's putting on the brakes a little bit in the beginning, right? It's really trying to dial it in as tightly as possible with the budget in the beginning with the dads, right? Each person, I think, has a different kind of dynamic. If the parents are paying, even if the couple is paying, it's honestly the budget is the most important part. Yeah. And we have some couples right now where they want to book everything right now. But really, everybody just needs to take a deep breath and we need to dial this budget in so that everybody has a framework to work within.
Yeah.
It's about deploying your resources in a wedding in the best possible way. We can make your dollars work for you in a lot of different ways, but we have to be able to make intentional decisions in the beginning and not just book things kind of piecemeal and then try to figure it out on the backside.
Yeah. We've definitely had couples where they've ended up, through their own choices, doubling their budget halfway through the process just by going, oh, well, I didn't really realize what this budget bought me. And now that I realize we can be more flexible with the dollars because this is what we really want and we're willing to pay for it. Yeah. And then we get further down the road and we're like, how did we end up with this level on this vendor and this level on this vendor? Right. And it's because really they may have started with a totally different budget.
That happens to me.
Did it really?
Yeah.
And then you get into it and you're like, wait a second. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to educate more on the front side. Yeah. And honestly, this is what always happens is we'll educate on the front side. We start with the budget that we think is accurate. Then they cut the budget. Then we end up back at the budget that we started.
Yes.
And it's just making them feel heard and feel seen. And there's a lot of conversations about that.
How do you manage that part with either the parents and the couples? Because you see weddings on Instagram and you have no idea what
things cost. I will just tell you, we are brutally honest. I think maybe some people end up choosing not to work with us in the beginning because we are brutally honest and they are going to ultimately spend that much because they don't really understand what it buys them. But we really do try to be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
Like right from the jump.
The education is so important. Plus, you don't want surprises too.
No.
Like that's the
no
worst for yourself too and for them.
Yeah.
So,
Right. We need to be able to sleep at night. And if someone halfway through the process was telling us, you told us we could do it for X amount of dollars. I mean, how can you live with yourself with that? We can never be that way. And definitely, I think also some of that comes from Julian and I both having worked in the industry and other jobs. We just have a strong education of what those other pieces look like and what's possible and what's not.
Totally. I think that's the thing too, is like a lot of planners have not worked in any other job except for planning. Right. But I've worked for a florist and planners and hotels, and Sarah's worked in catering and for another big planner and a huge production company and another caterer. And so it's about gaining an understanding of all of those pieces and how all of those dollars work together to then get it to a place that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think also having all the separate conversations with every single stakeholder, because the stakeholders have changed over time, right? It used to be more just like one or two people were making the decisions, but now everything is kind of by committee, right? So you're dealing with the committee. And so hearing from each part of the committee is so important, and then balancing their needs and their wants. We had this call the other day that was all about like, we need to cut some things out of the budget. And then the people on the call were like, well, but we care about this and we care about this and we care about this, we care about this. And Sarah was like, ladies, you have cared about every single thing that we've told you. So based on that, nothing can be cut from this budget.
Every category is a top priority, but we need to make it in place of that. I do try to be very careful about not selling them something that's 2x the budget that they've presented. Like maybe it's plus 25% and there's easy spots where you could go, okay, you could do this. You don't have to do that. It'll still be beautiful with or without it. Or here's a high-low version of some of those pieces, just because no one wants that. No one wants to go into it with a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to get crafty with how I can just like be scrappy and get all of the pieces of the vision that I want without sacrificing anything and still making it work for the budget dollars.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's a dance.
It is a dance.
Well, and it's also, I think that's what makes this job interesting too.
Yeah.
Is like, it's not the same vendors every single weekend.
Yeah.
It's like lots of different vendors, lots of different combinations. That's also, I think, why we got into destination. I can speak for myself 100%. That's why I got into destination, because it's more interesting. You get to work with more interesting people. You get to work with people you've maybe never worked with before. It's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of over communicating.
Over communicating and a lot of research too. I do like very deep Instagram dives for sure. We had this one in, sorry to interrupt. We had this one in France last year, and it was at the chateau. We never went to the chateau before the day of the wedding. And I remember while we were on our way, Julian had been really focusing on the transportation, the accommodations vendors, and I was really focused on like all of the diagramming and all of the design logistics and the food and beverage logistics and how that would all work together.
Because we were basically also making a hotel.
We were basically making a hotel, which was crazy. And Julian was like, I'm so nervous to see it. And I'm like, I'm not nervous at all. I know exactly what it looks like. I've looked at 7,000 pictures every single day. I've pored over them. And by the time we got there, I was like, I knew exactly what this was going to look like. I've seen it.
Yeah.
So there were really no surprises, frankly, once we got there, because I had like pored over every single detail and hopefully unturned every leaf. And it went fabulously. It was great. It was great. It was a good end to our season last summer.
It's crazy how you're like telling to accept it. And so, I mean, you were here for the last event that we produced here. Yeah. I work with really high-end vendors, and it was the first time that I planned anything. Don't get me wrong. I know this is nothing.
But it is.
It's undertaking.
Well, yeah. I was really nervous because I've never produced anything like that big. Vendors, before. And just learning how to work with them, they made it so easy. However, if I ever do something again, I just want to use the same vendors because I know how they work. So I have no idea. How do you start from scratch every single time that you do something destination-wise?
We get them on the phone. Honestly, getting people on the phone is the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's critical. Yeah.
Because people, or Google Meet, more often it's a Google Meet, so you can see their interaction. You can see how they react to a question that you have. I feel like maybe it was like early last year or late last year, one of our assistants was like, well, I'll just email them. And I was like, no, You cannot email them.
Yes.
You need to get them on the phone and you need to hear in their voice how they are hesitating, or did they pause when you asked them this question because they were like, well, I haven't actually done that before, but I could maybe make that work for you, but I don't want that. If a planner is watching this, get people on the phone.
Yeah.
Because they will tell you who they are. And then when they tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't push them into something that they cannot do because it will not end up well for you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm kind of always trying to gut check for, are they just promising us this because they want to work with us? Or they really want to work with this client, or they love this idea, or because they're really confident that they can execute this well. And that can be tough. And some of it's a little bit just intuition. And a lot of it is checking references too. I'm always making a call to another planner that I know has worked with a vendor. And that has given me a lot of peace over time too. If it's another planner that I trust their taste and opinion.
Yeah.
And usually people will be honest with you if you've built a really good network, and they'll say, you know, the proposals came over slowly, but ultimately the client was happy. So just make sure you stay on them, or give that kind of feedback that's so helpful that, to your point too, you're not kind of like figuring it out as you go. You were already one step ahead of like, I know how they work.
Yeah. And listen to those recommendations. Because again, people will tell you the truth between the lines. You know, no one wants to talk ill of any other person.
Yeah.
But if there was a roadblock that really did then cause a problem, like, you just need to be honest with each other about that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you are able to produce weddings here in the United States where you have your vendor selected, I'm sure, and the same quality and service across the globe. That's insane.
Yeah. It's wild.
I bet.
It is a wild experience.
It is a wild experience.
It's wild. It's like, we have to have so many calls about like the weirdest things, you know, like about scale of things. I always think about we did these video calls where Sarah was like, to this florist, she's like, now you go stand next to it, okay? You go stand in this frame next to this floral that you've designed, because I need to see it in relation to your body.
Wow.
And then she's like, okay, no, bigger. Like, put your arms out like this. Okay, you see your arms like that big, right? And so it's about that kind of thing, like the scale of something or the understanding of the service. Like, I have so many calls with this woman in Italy about now. Do you understand, like, this is exactly the way that we want the service to go? And like, again and again and again until they like finally.
Well, the thing is, like, you're dealing with different cultures.
I don't always do it sweetly too, because I want to be invited back, and I realize that I'm in someone else's home, and I try to like basically just shower them with compliments. And then in my like sweetest Southern way, I'm like, well, we thing the other day. But some of it's wild too, to your point, is because someone will be looking you in the face and go, that's absolutely impossible. You've never suggested anything more insane in your life. And I'm just looking at them like,
I did it last week.
I did it last week. I did it the week before. I did it in Italy. I've done it in Texas. I've done it in South Carolina. But we can't do that in Oklahoma or wherever the case may be. Having some experience in the other aspects of the event industry besides planning is you can know who the decision makers are underneath the salesperson to speak with. We just did this do you think we could get on a conference call with your banquets director and talk through this service style and make sure that everyone feels like they have the tools they need? And I always try to say, what can we do? What are you missing that I can help you all be successful? And so it really feels like we're all team players. And I
you guys are partners, right?
Yeah. Everyone has different approaches, but I have always felt like that's important because I've been on that side of the desk before. Maybe there's a reason why this person is saying that this can't work, because maybe it's a limitation of their team that we may not know about until we're halfway through it. And then they'll go, I told you so. There's no perfect way to do it. It's just like a lot of communication.
Right. We were just talking about how Texas, Dallas specifically, like the weddings are, oh my gosh, crazy.
Over the top.
However, if you go to California, they're either really big or really small. And when I say small, is like they have maybe a couple flowers on the tables and they're just not used to what we do here in Dallas. You know? And I can't even imagine overseas. I don't even know if somebody's getting married in Italy, are they expecting kind of like the super luxury? Yeah.
They're not at all. And they don't do weddings like that. Our
Exactly.
client is from the United States, but our client is also from the South, and our client is from Texas.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, well, we understand.
Everything is very
Oh,
Texas. Yeah.
bigger,
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
And so we have found, I think, with those vendors abroad specifically, they're excited to work with somebody from the United States.
Because they've never produced
who
anything like
wants
that.
to do something a little out of their norm. And they learn a lot, we learn a lot, and then we can go back and work together.
Worked with this florist, and he is a master gardener and florist, and his shop was half the size of this room.
Yeah.
We were, everything he proposed to us, we're like, thank you, more.
Yeah.
Like, I realized that really so you get down to kind of brass tacks of the dimensions of it is really the biggest way to help. So I've learned to go back and forth between inches and centimeters over these European.
I mean, what an amazing opportunity you're giving to other vendors across the world that are not used to, as you said, cruising these big events, because for them, I can't even imagine like having that opportunity of having such a great event under their belt and to, say like, hey, did this, like that, like after working with y'all, like their portfolio obviously expanded, but also their clients.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing I think about our philosophy when it comes to these destinations too, is we really do try to find as many local people as we can.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to be able to find a local provider, somebody who has the resources, who can do that. We don't need to truck someone with like all their floor all the way around the world.
Yeah.
That they need to be able to find a local provider who can execute at this level. And they are there. It takes a little bit more work to kind of
push them a little bit.
And help them, and then be open to their feedback, of like, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what can we do better next time? And then we go from there. We do a survey at the end of every single wedding, not only for our couples and the families, but we do a survey for every vendor, and they have the opportunity to fill out the survey and give honest, real feedback. And we appreciate that, and we can take that and learn from it and go from there. And it's great when people really fill it out, and it's great to hear that we're great, right? But it's also great to hear like, hey, if you had done this, we could have done that, and that's awesome. That's like feeds us, I think, and it's something that everybody should be doing, whether they're traveling or they're not traveling. Every single wedding gets a survey.
Yeah, I love it. And then again, you should do this to yourselves because no, seriously, obviously for what you produce, but then also those relationships, the opportunity that you're giving those local vendors that again, you're making them grow, whether you have thought about it or not, giving them that opportunity is just really cool.
Oh my gosh. And they make us grow too, because we are always learning about the way that they may do something that we may not have experienced before. And that's like one of my favorite things, getting to learn from all the cool artisans that we get to work with all over the world.
And I bet they can give you some perspective into bringing that culture.
Oh, 100%. We're like forever lecturing people about catering. Based on there's these two caterers in the world. One of them is in Mexico City, and one of them is based out of Lyon in France. And it's the best two caterers we've ever worked with in the world. Everyone should raise to their level, because when we are told no here in the United States, we're like, no. Like, it is possible. Like, we have seen it done, and these are the people who could do it. And let us show you and tell you what they did for us. That was so incredible, and help you raise and elevate your game too.
What makes the Julian Leaver experience stand out from the rest?
I've worked in design and planning firms beyond Julian Leaver Events too. And I think really we are like bespoke and volume. And I think there's benefits both of those. We do kind of more volume than often some of the high-end luxury planners do. And I think that allows us to have a large network of vendors. Also, to Julian's point, just like the muscle of always training that constantly. We have a great team of weekend workers that work with us all the time. And we're doing anywhere from like 18 to 20 plus weddings a year. So the people that work with us every weekend they're employed half of the year on the weekends. And we do a lot to kind of develop that team. I think sometimes our weekend team is a little bit of our secret sauce, because
I bet
we try to we give all of our clients, of course, like as much one-on-one attention as we can throughout the entire year. But then we bring like a whole fleet of people that basically wait on them hand and foot through the wedding weekend. And I think that's important. I think that it's not just about making sure that the vendors are well coordinated sometimes. I think that's important. I think the design's important. And I think also like making every single person feel well taken care of on the Wednesdays. We've had situations where it was like an aunt that was close to the mom that needs to be treated like a VIP but hasn't been involved in planning. So we'll just like assign a team member to her, or it's a grandmother that had mobility issues. And so we've had someone like just literally help her wheel her around in a wheelchair and follow around whatever like nurse has been with her.
And every single person is just taken care of.
Yes.
Truly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So our team all knows how to sew. We have multiple emergency kits everywhere we go. It's high touch service. And I'm sure there's planners all over the world that also deliver high touch service. But I think like excellence in every category is one of the things that I'm like definitely committed to as part of our team.
I love it.
Yeah.
So nicely said.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously as a business owner, and I'll give you a trick here later, but I say this with absolutely no shame. I could not be where I am today and producing what we do without a team.
Yes. I mean, the team is amazing. And I think like there's two separate parts of the wedding, right? There's the planning part of the wedding, which is like the 364 of it. And then there's one day to make it magical.
Yeah.
And I would say this too, like she just bragged on the team that works on the weekends, but the team that works the other 364 is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And they give their heart. And I think that's the difference too. It's like really caring so deeply about each step of the process and each person being so invested in getting those responses to people and not leaving anyone hanging and doing what is necessary at a volume level is a huge testament to just the work ethic of everyone else on this team, because it's not possible without that.
Yeah, I agree.
And so you have to have both.
I love your passion, both of your own passion. I mean, you can tell that you're so passionate about what you do, and every single event that you produce, I feel like anybody listening to this podcast is going to want to hire you seriously.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to talk about the etiquette and hospitality part of your DNA.
Yeah.
Specifically, we did some research before this interview, and we learned that you trained at the Washington School of Protocol. What?
Yes.
So what is that?
Yeah.
And tell me more about
So the Washington School of Protocol is actually the school that the U.S. government sends all of the employees who work at the State Department and the White House and military installations around the world to. And I really had wanted, kind of in the beginning when I started this business, I thought I need to really understand the etiquette more deeply. And it was just a really cool program that I went and spent, I think it was around 2 weeks in Washington, D.C. And you just go and you learn and you're kind of learning alongside all of these other professionals who are like the top in their specific field, right? Like I remember in my schooling, there was the chief protocol officer for Boeing Corporation, and then also the chief protocol officers for like 4 or 5 4-star generals who were all there. And then there was a person from the White House. And so you just learn all about how to treat people well and how to deliver service at a higher level, but then also just the etiquette of how to set a dining table, how to think about a dining table, how to deal with flags, which kind of we don't really deal with in this business. But I think the thing I always say about the flag part,
what is that? Sorry.
Like how to present a flag like in a business setting, or how to present another country's flag if you're having
flag.
Yeah, the flags,
Yeah.
like literal flags. But it's more about how you make someone feel in an environment, right? Like that's kind of what they really taught you is how to make everyone walk into a space and feel very comfortable right away.
Wow.
You know? And I think we think about that a lot when we go into diagramming, right? How does this space interact with the people who are coming to interact with it? How do you lay that out in an intentional way that it all makes sense?
Yeah.
And then if the space is set correctly, the rest of the party, we always say, is a foregone conclusion, right? If you made good decisions along the way for the other 364 days, then the party itself is going to be amazing because you made all these really great decisions to set that up. And now we just have to execute what we've designed.
I love it.
So it was an interesting education.
I want to talk to you about your favorite wedding in for what? If you had to choose one.
Like from the design side, there's some that I'm like, I had this idea in my head for 15 years and I finally got to execute it, which is cool. I love designing. Julian and Francisco's wedding was so fun.
Oh my gosh, that was
exceptional.
It was just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. It was its own challenge. And we learned a lot about our own process through that wedding.
We had so much fun, but also I was trying to be very careful that because Julian and I are together all day, every day, and traveling together, that we were not making decisions without Francisco. And that we were not planning the wedding, that Julian and Francisco were making decisions together. Because it's their day, 1,000%. And we had gone through sort of this design process, and Grow Designs had told us that they really wanted to contribute to the design and everything. And they put together this beautiful design board that was all based on the inspiration that Julian and Francisco had sent over.
Yes.
And it had kind of taken this road where it went from like hyper modern to then it became like white floral with greenery. And we were like maybe 2 or 3 months out from the wedding at that point. I can't really remember. We went in for this design meeting and they had presented this beautiful proposal and the boys were just silent, watching the whole thing, no reaction. And I'm like, so what do you think about that? And they're like, oh. And so we loved it. I was like, we're going to go get a cheeseburger right now. I've got something to say. So we left and we went down the street and we got burgers and we sat down and I was like, guys, this is a beautiful proposal. I'm just kind of surprised that this is what you all picked. I had always sort of envisioned that you would go more this direction. And I showed them just this one inspiration photo that was like a screenshot, I'd say, that was super modern, dark, moody, floral. And they both went, yes.
And then Sarah was like, okay, do you want to come to any more meetings? And we were both like, no, we don't want to come to any more meetings. Like, we would like to just show up.
So then from there, I literally redesigned it from scratch.
Yeah. So that's the cool part about having a badass vendor.
Yeah, exactly. And planner. You have to trust. I was like, okay, I understand. And Bristol was like, I also understand. I don't want to go in this other direction. So please, let's go this way.
I bet that meant a lot to you too. Like having him, crafting all these weddings, just relying on you, like, okay, now that you know.
We're out.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
I mean, and that was the best part for you as well. Because then you don't stress about it.
Yeah.
This is the wild thing about weddings, though, is I don't know if I really even had that thought process of like, wow, Julian's trusting you.
Yeah.
I kind of was just like, all right, let's make this happen. Like, I was kind of going into go mode at this point.
Yeah.
Also, when you're in weddings with anyone, this is funny. We all know this. You're kind of all like trauma bonded together because you've been through. You spend your Saturdays, you spend Sundays, you spend late nights.
All of your time.
You travel together and real life happens while all of this stuff is happening. And everyone that I've like worked with on the planning side, it's like you just stay close forever because it's just the way that all happens. So I just felt like maybe I wouldn't have felt that confident with one of the other couples that we spend our meeting times with. We try to get to know as much as possible. But with the two of them, I felt like, I was like, I have a very good understanding
through their relationship.
Their personal
I understand. I know exactly how they make decisions. Like, this is easy for me to take this and go.
I want to talk to you about luxury weddings. A lot of people don't know what the difference are between like ultra luxury, luxury. How do you describe the difference?
We don't really use those terms. It's just more about like, it takes what it takes to accomplish your vision, you know? I mean, I think people group them into different categories based on like the spend of what it is.
Okay.
But like for us, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah. Because your customers are going to have the same experience.
They're going to have the same experience whether they're having whatever they're spending on it. That's not important to us. You know, it's more important about how extensive do you want to go into the guest experience, right? And I think that's maybe slightly the difference, right? Is how interactive or experiential do you want it to be versus how aesthetic you want it to be. I think maybe that's the difference, really. But they get the same experience, I would say.
They get the same
level of our service.
Yeah, I love it.
Every single time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You guys need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. And I think the clients don't care, really.
I think no, and we don't delineate between like different levels of service or different levels of like luxury or not. It's not really a term we use. I think that things can become more and more luxe because you sort of upgrade everything in every category. And we all have, you know, friends outside of work that are like, how do you have a wedding that's at that level? And I just go, think of the last wedding that you went to and look at every single thing and you upgrade in every single category. And that's what makes it really, truly feel elevated is it's an elevated photographer, videographer, floral, china, flower, glassware, every piece of paper that you touch, more experiences,
Exactly.
more and more and more.
More and more entertainment.
Yes.
More entertainment that's like with you. Then
Exactly.
And transitions, right?
Pieces
And
to the band. It's the lighting.
Yeah.
Look the same all night.
Exactly. Lasers and haze.
Exactly.
And like, it's just more and more and more. But I would say too, is like every client has something that they're doing that in.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, I do actually care about X.
Sure.
And so we elevate that. And sometimes we get to elevate all the things.
Yeah.
And in those, we just count ourselves lucky, you know? And I feel like we get to pinch ourselves.
Yeah. But I love that with the, what did you say, like 20 weddings per year or something like that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So 20, every single one of them, they get to experience your service at the same level, regardless of how much they're spending.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. And the staffing is the same. And the team that they get when they're working with us is the same.
Some of these are just more complicated than others, but we do whatever requires to make it perfect.
I love it.
Yeah.
So how can people find you, connect with you, and hire you to plan their wedding?
Yes. They can find us at julianleaver.com and then also at Julian Leaver.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time today. This
Thank
was
you.
amazing.
This has been so fun.
Yes,
Thank you.
so fun. Bye.
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 Learn about all things wedding straight from the experts. Be sure to like and subscribe to Bridal Club.